This is Abundance Thursdays with myself, Gualter Amarelo, and the great Vinny Smile Chopra. Vinny, you're in your backyard. I'm in my father's living room in Boston, Massachusetts. It's so good to see you again. I know you were just in Hawaii. How does it feel to be back home?
Oh my gosh, it was great trip there with the family. It's good to take some time off, but it's glad to be back home too, you know. You want to come back and sleep in your bed and everything like that. But I've been kind of catching a little bit cold and this and that because of the Thanksgiving caught some bug. So I've been feeling kind of down for 3, 4 days, but feel a little better today. I'm glad. Yeah.
I'm glad you're feeling better as well, Vinny. So while you've been gone, we've been doing some soul searching in Alchemist Nation. We've been looking at what are the next principles. Today's wealth principle is number 6. And wealth principle 6 is start a business that solves a problem. You have to be one of the most
Oh
problem-solving oriented people that I know. You see problems and you're instantly just excited about it, right? You see a problem, you see a solution. Every problem with it, you think, "Wow, that's a good pro." In fact, I have heard you say that's a good problem more times than anybody else that I know. How did you get wired to be so excited about problems?
wow, that's something. I mean, it's a mentally, you always find out in any organization, there are going to be challenges. Problems are challenges. There are things that we missed or didn't miss, or things happen when you go to competition or whatever happened. You got to, when the problem comes in our lap, we got to just accept them because many times we try to put them under the rug and then they don't go away, but those same challenges get bigger and bigger and bigger. So my thinking has been, let's just tackle the issue. Let's just get into it and get the team fired up. Oh, first we have to get fired up ourselves to find a solution, because a lot more time we spend in the challenges and why it happened, so and so, who made it happen, who is it to be blamed, all those things happened, right? Our mentality is like that. So I think what you said is right. I just say, you know what, God has given this challenge to in my lap. We got to figure out a way. And I'm going through major, major challenges. In businesses, everybody's going through. So be truthful, with the multifamilies, the cash flow is not there. Investors are unhappy, all those things, right? Construction problems, the delays, the lenders, the whole bit. So, I mean, as a CEO, you want to keep composure, but at the same time, you want to, edge it so that you get out of the situation.
Because problems, I think that you just said something that a lot of people may not even be aware of. I think a lot of people outside of the multifamily space don't understand the challenges that are happening in multifamily. I think the people outside of the hospitality space don't understand
Mhm,
the problems that are happening inside hospitality. And the people who are in the senior assisted living and the ASLs and the
mhm,
RALs don't
mhm.
understand what challenges are actually happening. And then for those who do see the problems, they're not looking at them as an opportunity, right? So you and I, we look at these problems. You with hospitality with the hotel you're closing right now. Look at how many times it's been pushed to closing date. That's
Oh
a
my
problem for a lot of
gosh.
people, but for you, you find, well, it's part of the story. You tell your investors, well, we're going to push a little bit further. The attorneys push a
Literally.
little further. The lenders push a little further. You got to keep the seller on board. So somebody who's capable of keeping everybody together, that's a problem you're solving. Most operators would fall apart at this point. Oh, it keeps getting pushed, keeps getting pushed. The seller would back out, the buyer would not be able to close. So your capacity to hold it together
I
is
am
is a
I'm
solving
so
of the problem.
glad you're saying that, because it's been just a like last 2 months have been up and down, up and down, up and down, with the Marriott chain, with everything, with the lender, with another lender. And then we found out that we need to raise some more money. Oh my gosh. So all those challenges, I mean, you take them in stride. As a matter of fact, I raised 200,000 overnight because I needed to raise that much money. And lo and behold, one of my good friend had called me. He needed some tax deduction for this year, for 2025. And I said, oh no, it's almost finishing up though. But then I called him back and he jumped on the gun. So I think sometimes the challenges can really turn into disguise good things for all of us together. So we are very fortunate that we we should not give up. I think that's the one thing. Many times we just say the whole world is falling apart. What to do now? What to do now? And when we are in the frenzy, we get so decapitated. Is that the word? I don't know. That we just cannot take actions. But the key thing is to look at the challenge, find all the team members, pull them together, and say, how can we get out of it? How can we look through the eyes of solving the problem, not looking at constantly staring at the challenge or the problem? The biggest thing is look at the lens of the vendors, the lenders, the banks, and the investors, because in my business, investors are the king, and they we need to be always making decisions looking their fine interest at heart, because if they are happy, they are, and you got to communicate with them. That's the other part. They would like to stay, like I didn't even tell you that this was a hotel construction delayed quite a bit from last year, and I just spent 20,000 of my company's money to give the cash flow to the investors. Oh my gosh, didn't get a
Yeah.
penny from the hotel yet. But I just felt like it was the right thing to do to give investors some benefit because they stayed and gave me the money that far back. And now we are finding that we'll be able to get that hotel finished in 6 months, 5 months, and the cash flow machine. Hilton has taken the brand flag. We've been asking, for some time, and now it's going to get together. So that's the Hotel Rain in the peninsula over there in Florida. But you're right, the challenges were there. They were creeping, 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 creeping. But then we found a solution. And
Vinny,
just,
that is, I want every operator who's ever borrowed money, partnered with somebody, been a GP, who has LPs, to hear what you just said. Because I am on calls. Part of what uh, God or the direction of the universe is calling me towards this past 6 months has been working with lenders who haven't gotten all their money back. So
yeah,
people who are lending money out and not getting the money back, or people who are passive investing and not getting their returns. And their biggest complaint is just pay me something, right? Like, don't
yeah,
stop paying me. Stick to
yeah.
the contract. Okay, you haven't made your money, but you said I'd get money by 12 months or 8 months in. I still want to get paid because that's what you agreed to. And being able to like go back and say, you said you felt right. It just felt right to do that because it was part of the contract, it was part of the agreement, part of the context that was set was, hey, we're going to pay you at this point. There's so many operators who don't think that way. They wait
You
till
know,
they get paid, then they say, okay, I'm going to pay these guys, and that's hard on the passive investor. It's hard on the lender.
so
What
true, so
why
true.
why
And
do you
sometimes
think
you
so
can
much
do
about
it.
the yeah, why is it you think you feel
Sometimes
so
you
compelled to
can
take
do
care of
it,
them?
sometimes you cannot do it.
All right, you're
Yeah,
creative
I
though. So
think
you're a more creative
especially
operator.
in
You're
this
capable of
particular
finding the answers.
situation. Kind of. I mean, the biggest thing is you got to be really always be looking out from the lens, from the investor's perspective, and do the best you can. I think that's the right thing to do. Like for our Austin property, we got that, we won the lawsuit and everything. So we are giving back $1 million back in dividends back to the investors because they didn't get for a couple of years, no cash flow. So
And that
that was
lawsuit
the
was
right
because there
thing
was a
to do.
contractor who put a lien against the property. Is that correct?
No, 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 no. This one actually, the buyer backed out and it was under sale. That property, they had a uh, non-refundable earnest money that we won the lawsuit on. Yeah, yeah. So we were renovating the property. We are doing other things with the property, with the money. We are not taking a penny out of it, but then giving $1 million back to the investors in dividends, in cash flows. But I think, that's what keeps your investors together, listening to you and be in your pocket. I mean, I just totaled up today. I've got $9 million just from my investors who have friends who want to put 9 million with me now in my new hotel deals. 9 million this morning. I just totaled it up. And this is just finishing up one sale where I raised only 3.5 million, 3.6 million or 7 million, 3.6, I think. But then now I have 9 million ready for my next hotel deals. And I'm looking at four hotels right now at this time. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be really exciting because there are certain hotels which went into foreclosure, communities where people are retiring. As you know, baby boomers are retiring. So their children don't want the hotels. They don't know how to operate them. So they are renovating hotels and then they want to sell them off. So I'm looking at some hotels for $4 million, which will cash flow, and my money will be returned in year and a half, the whole down payment. So it's a really, really good, deals out there in my network that I have my partners with. Yeah. Because
because
my
you're a problem
partners have
solver.
been, yeah, my partners have been living and breathing hotels from the age of 13 and 17 and 21 and so on. So, and I've gotten to know hotel industry 7 years now, which is a lot more I know now than I knew before. So, no, thank you. Yeah, it's all problem solving. It really is. Yeah,
So you got a couple of hacks. I'm going to go through the seven
sure.
hacks that you sent me. The first one was ask, what problem is this solving?
Yeah.
And a lot of times there's like when you want to get paid well, there's usually a money problem on the back time line of it or a time problem. It's money or time that are
Mhm.
usually being solved. Protecting money is very expensive, and then getting time is very expensive. So when your investment does one or both of those things, it creates a lot of opportunity for other people. The second hack is learn to spot evergreen demand. That's
Yeah.
continuous demand, which is why hospitality has, a lure to you because it's got constant guests. In fact, I stayed at a
Mhm.
hotel here in Fall River, which I've never stayed at before. I always come to families' houses and I stay there. But I did tell Durant, I said, I'd like to see what the hotel is like in the city I grew up in. Because I remember that hotel being built, and I said, I'd like to go stay there. And it felt like any other hotel that I've ever stayed at ever. So I was like, wow, my city has a hotel that's just as nice as anywhere else. And it
Right.
felt great. House
Yep.
cleaning, like all the things that, we had a pool. I swam at the pool with my son yesterday morning. It was wonderful, a lot of fun. So hospitality has a repetition. There's people who will always need it. So one of the hacks is evergreen demand, people needing it constantly.
Totally.
Third hack you gave was analyze the pain behind the stay. All right,
Yeah.
hospitality nearby. Families need clean, affordable lodging. University nearby. Parents and alumni need to visit often. Business hubs nearby.
Yeah.
Corporates need constant rooms. And so understanding the why your asset is bulletproof. When you look at these investments, or when you actually no, that's how you look at the hospitality side. When you look at the investor side, the passive investor side, or the passive lender side of things, what are some of the problems they're facing with their money right now?
I'm so glad you mentioned it in my mastermind last night. We discussed, and next Wednesday, we're going to discuss even further what are the needs of the investors now. Because a lot of our investors over 20 years have grown older. They're in the 70s, they're in the 65s, they're into 80s, and so on. So their needs have changed. And I think we are looking into the model that you have very nicely put together, where you are able to have like the money at 10% or 12% guaranteed cash flow to them in your funds. And that's what I'm also, researching and taking poll with my investors. If they would like that, then we could give all the upside, keep that upside later on for 5 years, whatever it is, like that. But cash flow, we could give everything to them so that they are a monthly return on their money. So that's something we are really struggling, or maybe not struggling, but looking into how should we pivot? How should we
I
pivot? So,
I love it because you call it, my thing, or it's the thing I'm focused on. I've always been obsessed with older like generations because they have wisdom, they have
yeah,
capital, they have different desires, different demands, and I've always been on the debt side. So for me, that group has been way more attractive because when you're in your 40s and 50s, you really want
yeah,
equity. You want to
yeah,
grow wealth, grow wealth, grow wealth.
yes,
As you get
yes,
older, you're like, I've got wealth. I just don't want to lose it, and I want it to pay
totally,
me. I want it to pay me, pay me, pay me.
totally,
So uh,
totally.
that's another problem, right? Those are problems. As you get into your 70s, you start aging, you start thinking, I've got a lot of wealth, but it's not paying me. I can't eat equity. I can't eat my Tesla stock. I can't eat the
Yeah,
property equity that I have out there. I can't live off of that. I can't give my grandchildren gifts off of that equity. And they start thinking that's a problem. My the less years left becomes a problem, and really cash
yeah,
flow becomes so that house rich, cash poor is the problem I keep hearing,
so
right?
true.
I'm house rich, cash poor. I got assets. I'm very wealthy, but I have no income. So
Yeah.
debt funds or high return prefs, like those types of
Hmm.
deals that provide cash flow, are very helpful for that older generation. But what's the problem of a younger person? They have no money. They have no capital. They
That's
have
the
no
thing. It's
equity.
catch
They,
22.
yeah, they're working. They're working. So it's like you get that first 100,000. It's like you just gotta put it with somebody who can double it, and then you got to go back and make another 100,000. Well, that money's working. That interest at 12%, 10%, that doesn't really work very well for that, right? You need
Yes,
higher
yes.
returns, 25, 20,
Hmm.
25% returns, 30% returns, like some of the stuff you've done. Those are
Yeah,
really, it's different problems for different
yes.
types of passive investors, and
So
age
true, so
has a
true.
big
We will
factor to
be
do with it.
two segments, two different investors' bases, and I'll have to, or maybe they will both invest into both deals or something. I know I've seen some funds
Hybrids,
before.
yep.
Hybrids, right? I've seen that from some other syndicators before. And I know I didn't get too much to people who bought in the definite 10% thing, before, but maybe now the things are changing. The other part I also want to talk about the challenges with cost segregation, because with cost segregation, it takes a good K1 loss in the first year, but when we sell the asset in 3 to 5 years, you capture all
Not
that.
good. Not
Not
good.
good. Investors hate that. Many
Yes.
investors who have used up that K1 negative already, but they did not accumulate, then they have to come up with the extra money to pay for the tax burden of the
Yeah.
20% gain, capital gain. So those are two very, very strong things which are on the plate, and we are looking into it and finding a solution for that. Yeah,
These are problems.
yeah,
They're not just things. These are problems that you are drawn to that I am being involved with
yeah.
because they're big in the marketplace right now. Big problems that if we
Mhm.
can solve those problems, the investors around us are happy. So the fourth hack that you gave me is communicate the problem you solve in every investor conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
Why is it that, because I know the importance of it. I know why we have to tell people. If you don't tell people what you do, then you can't help them. If you had the cure to cancer, but you kept it to yourself, nobody would have the
It,
cure. Why do you think so many operators, good operators with great product, great investments, or great products you could lend against, don't go and tell everybody what they've got?
that's a good point. I think you have to really be clear what you're going to share with the investor. Are you going to lose their sleep, or are you helping them to understand what the situation is and what steps you are taking to rectify it? So I always believe that don't just share the challenge, but think through what you are planning to do and show them the sequence of events that has happened in talking to attorneys, talking to lenders, talking to people concerned, so that they feel that, we are not just sitting idly on the sideline, we are taking action to protect their wealth.
I
That's
like
so
that.
important.
People want you to take action. In fact, I'll say something that
Yeah.
I've been saying a lot in the companies this past year has been, don't just bring me the problem. I want all the problems, but I also want you, when you come, bring me a solution. It doesn't have to be the best solution, it just has to be the best you can
Yeah,
come up with in the moment. Don't
yeah,
wait to come to me until you have a solution, but come to me with a solution and the problem. This way,
yeah.
it's easier for me to at least have something. There's an alternative. There's a way for us to get around this. It
Yes,
starts the
yes.
creativity going. Fifth hack. This is a Vinney Chopra hack, by the way. If you're just jumping in, this is Abundance Thursdays with myself, Gualter Amarelo, with the great Vinney Smile Chopra. We do this every 9 a.m. PST on Thursdays and
Yes.
12 p.m. EST again on Thursday on the East Coast. So we're going through why your business must solve a problem. Your business has to solve a problem, otherwise there's no money to be made. And here are some of the hacks to identify problems and find the right problems that are profitable. The fifth hack is build a brand around solving that specific need. So in this case, there are opportunities for somebody who says, look, there's a lot of people who've gone and done cost segregations. So what can your company do that provides a solution to somebody who's got a cost segregation that just got recaptured? The product got sold, the building got sold. Now they're recapturing. They need another new alternative for all this recaptured
Mhm.
tax deferred dollars. The other one that you
Totally.
mentioned is too much equity. Equity is trapped inside assets, or it's not cash flowing. They want access to cash flow. These problems are happening in the marketplace now. Aging is another one that you got really involved with because the senior assisted living, the
Yes,
memory care.
yes,
People are
yes.
traveling more because they've gotten older, they've got more wealth, they want to spend more time back and forth visiting families. So hospitality is solving the problems of today's market. So building your brand around solving specific needs, Vinny, you've built a brand around being the guy who puts people's money to work, right? You're the guy who you got four books that all say, I'll help you make more money. You hand me your money, I go and I do stuff. I do it in apartment
Yes,
syndications, made easy, right? It's all made
yes.
easy. Everything is hospitality made easy. It's senior assisted living made easy. And then you got profit. Positivity brings profitability,
Profitability. Yeah,
which is again saying, hey, look, if we just change your mindset, you can get the results you're looking for.
that's
There's an
so
easy
true.
way to do
So
this.
true.
So your brand
So
is a very
true.
positive,
Ah,
simplistic
thank
way
you.
to build wealth.
Thank you.
Why is it so important that you built that brand early?
It's very, very important with the age of digital age and now with the AI and everything. It's so important that everything is available on the silver platter for everybody. So you want to really build good vibes, good brand, good following so that you are able to show results and make sure that investors, it's hard. So many people are just going after the same investor, right? The biggest thing is to deal with your investors that you have and ask them, like I just asked my top 5 people in this hotel deal who else they might like to refer for the next, and that's $9 million raised. $9 million. I cannot believe it in just 2 weeks. And they said, Vinny, as we close on this one, where is the next deal? We will be able to fund it right away for you. And they want to do fund of a fund or maybe co-GP with me. So it's exciting. It's exciting world if you build the brand right.
This brings me right to hack number six, which is use data, not emotion. You've always been here's what's happening in the marketplace. Here's how many people are, interested in this. Uh, One of the data points you dropped in the chat here is show occupancy trends, ADR comps,
ADR. Yeah.
compression nights. Investors want
That's
proof that the problem exists and
See,
that you know how
that's
to
the
solve it.
thing. That's with hospitality, the average daily rate, the occupancy, and the RevPAR, which is the revenues per available room, are the three factors which really determine each apartment is one easier, much easier to manage apartment complexes, but hotels, it's every night the room is available. And if it's not sold that night, you lose the whole revenue, unlike in apartments and office spaces or anywhere. So hospitality has its own intricacies, but also the rewards are many, many fold. So once you get into it, it's very, very satisfying. Yeah.
It is. Multifamily. We have our occupancy rates. We have our delinquency rates. We
Mm,
have our average rents in a market. The average rent in Cleveland can be anywhere between 750 to 1400. You go to Boston, it's 3000 to 5000. So the market data and knowledge really is helpful for investors. That's a problem that you could solve. If you go to an
yeah,
operator, in fact, some of the people who have lost money in real estate as
yeah,
passive lenders, they just
yes.
didn't know the data. They were investing in things that anybody who knows could have looked at it, asked a couple questions, said, "Oh yeah, no, I don't want to be anywhere near this."
Hmm.
These folks didn't have the information, they didn't ask the right questions, they didn't have the right data, and so they invested in loans thinking they were getting great products, and it turned out to be very bad deals. Like single families that were bought way more than they should be bought in markets that sell at this price, but they paid this price. These things happen because a person's lacking data. So providing data is part of it's a problem. Lack of knowledge or lack of information is a problem that you solve as an operator. And you, Vinny, you do all sorts of trainings. You're willing to take the time to educate a person. You're not just saying, "Hey, hand me your money." You're saying,
Yeah,
"Here's how this asset class works. Here's the timelines.
absolutely.
Here's where money goes in, where money comes from, where it goes out." And that gives an investor knowledge, the ability to make a
That's the
decision
thing.
versus
So
just
true.
saying, "This is a great deal. Trust
Yeah,
me," which there's
no,
too much of that in the marketplace. And
so
there's too
true.
much people beating on other people saying, "Oh, you're dumb for not investing in this. You'd be crazy. Oh, you're crazy to invest in the stock market.
Mm,
You should be over here. You're crazy to invest in real estate. You should be over here." I think
yeah.
that people need to actually get their own information, and a lot of times an operator who's actually in it, who's done 42 transactions, Vinny,
Yes,
how many
42
big 42.
funds,
42.
42 funds and syndications, packets. So, and sold so many. So actually transactions might be, not 90, but close to 70 some, right? Yeah, because we have sold so much also. And our goal is to really pick up about 6 to 7 hotels in 2026. 7 hotels. I was looking for four, but what I've seen so far and how much low hanging fruit is there, it's mind blowing, totally mind blowing that we can get 7 hotels. And I
You
like the
are
number
picking up.
seven. I
You are
love the
picking up.
number
I
seven.
love it. Vinny, I said the opposite. I'm slowing down. I've got too much on my plate. We
Yeah.
picked up 600 doors this year, and I'm saying next year I just want to do 500. I want to slow down the acquisitions,
No,
just
you're doing the
500,
right thing
500.
because you are managing them too. See,
Yeah.
in my case, I will not be managing these 7 hotels. I'll be getting the very shrewd management companies, they'll be managing them. So I'll be managing the manager, or my whole team will be managing the manager, and my partners will be involved and everything. So it's a combination. It's a team sport, I say. When I say I'll buy 7, it's not just me alone. It's going to be my partners with me and everything. So,
Which makes it more
it's,
scalable. I
yeah,
think
it
that
is. It is.
I got, man, I'm so sorry. For everybody who's listening right now, just understand you are not Vinny Chopra. You're a bit like, so Vinny, you just made managing 7 hotels sound so easy. Like, oh, all you have to do is find the right operator and they'll go do it for you. That is a lifetime skill to find the right
Yes.
operators
Yeah.
and know that they can absolutely pull it off and do business with them.
Hmm.
Vinny has that skill, but it's because he's done many deals, been in many different
Thank you.
industries,
Thank you.
and it sometimes it's better just to step past that step and go to somebody who knows what they're doing, especially if you're older. If you've got, 60 years behind you, you've got a limited amount in front of you, you got to be more cautious. And learning from somebody like Vinny Chopra has been, for me, non-negotiable. To
Thank
get
you.
people who
Thank
are
you.
ahead of you
Thank you.
to learn from instead of people who are behind you or on the side of you, that's not the best place to learn. Seventh hack. Be the smile giver in your business. When people feel seen, served, and cared for, revenue grows. Investors stay for life. You are
That's the
known as
key.
Vinny Smile Chopra, so it had to be worked into this at some point. But it is a problem in the marketplace. There are a lot of people who are actually afraid. There are a lot of people in the marketplace who are
Mm,
not getting communicated with. In fact, that's,
mhm,
oh, Vinny, this is what I hear the most. They stop
mhm.
paying and they stop talking. It's like,
Yeah.
whoa, before you
Wow.
stop paying, you need to talk even more. Once you
Yeah.
stop paying, you need to talk even more and make sure
Yeah.
that everybody who's in the deal knows what's going on. Now, I've always paid every single investor always on time. Everything has been very smooth for me because I don't
Sure.
take on more than I can handle. But if
Totally.
ever I even thought I might have to get into a time of bad, like, oh, I gotta go. My first thought is I gotta tell the investors. I gotta go talk to my lenders. I gotta talk to my
Hmm.
people and start letting them know what we're doing. Because if something bad happens, I need them to have known about it in advance. I don't want to go tell them, oh, by the way, this has been happening. I'm just telling them up front, hey, this is my
Hmm.
solutions. Here's where I'm going. How do you do it? Because I know that there's a lot of operators who, when they can't pay, they stop talking and they say to the investors, hey, I'm going to work on it. No investor wants to hear that from,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
2, 3 months later. It's like the last time he talked to me was 2 weeks ago, 3 months ago, and he said, we're going to work on it. Well, where are you at? Why do
right.
you think, like, how
You
did you
have
come up
to
with that habit?
communicate. You
Yeah.
have to communicate in phases, you got to be always working in finding solutions. That's the number one thing. And document them and the emails and the texts and everything. And that's so important so that you could present some data, right? What you are trying to do to solve the situation. And investors appreciate that. Investors really appreciate that. So you cannot just shut up totally. You've got to be communicative. That's so important. So important, you know?
It is the most important. If
Yeah.
you're listening to this and you're an operator of real estate, please keep paying us. One, keep paying us. We like making money. Two, if you're not going to pay us on time, you got to reach out to us sooner, faster. Give us a plan. Let us come in. Many of the people you'll find that many people who have passively invested with you are very good operators. So if Vinny's passively investing in one of your deals, reach out to Vinny before you stop paying. That's a very good resource. If I'm invested in one of your deals, reach out to me before you stop paying us. Reach out, say, hey, I'm having problems. There's a lot of times your investors and your lenders have skills and talents
Yeah.
and knowledge and awareness and network and can help you out with some of the problems that you're in. Because one, we do also make money by solving problems. We solve the liquidity problem. We put our money into projects, and investors pay us for doing that. Vinny gathers capital, puts it into projects. The operators had a problem; they didn't have capital. Vinny solves the capital problem, the liquidity issue. Vinny, there's problems in the market right now. Everybody who's in business that figures out how to solve a big problem with a lot of profit will make a lot of money. What would you say right now if you were to look at the marketplace from your lens, your perspective, having invested over 30 different businesses, having done 42 different transactions, if you were to look at
Mm.
your and maybe possibly buying 4 to 7 hotels next year, what would you say is the big problem in the marketplace that an entrepreneur, that somebody whose net worth 3, 4, $5 million right now could go and solve?
The biggest thing I would say is that be cautious where you are investing your money. Hold on tight with your money. You got to really learn, find out what kind of investment you're comfortable with. You got to make sure, don't just say, I'm going to just invest with the next person coming on board or whatever. You got to really look at your profile, sit down with the family, and then ask them, you know what? I mean, the stock market, it's sometime up, sometime down, up or down. And real estate also, the interest rate is going to be cut or not cut. 89% now, it might be cut next week. And it's just a turmoil. The economy is in big turmoil. You got to really save, look at the best deals and vet them and talk to sponsors and look at who are at the top. I mean, I just found out somebody's suing somebody else in the management because the GPs don't get along. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, you're putting your money, entrusting your money with the GPs, and they're not even getting together. This is happening all over the place because when the things don't go right, a lot of the top GP structures fall apart because they don't really try to uh, carry on their weights. Let's just say that. So be careful with what you're going to invest. Don't hurry. That's my 2 cents. Don't hurry up. You take time to vet the deal, think about it, ask all kind of questions, and then only give your money after you have seen the legal paperwork. It has to be seen by your attorney, by your CPA, and everybody. Just don't send any money to anybody yet.
That's a good one. So what Vin is getting at is in this market, in a recession, there are more people who want capital today. There are more options, more operators, more real estate deals, more different niches than there have been in a very long time. So the biggest thing you can do is deploy your capital, but deploy it cautiously.
Yeah,
Make sure you're
yeah.
deploying into the right deals. You may think, oh wow, there's a deal. I just listened to Vinney and Gualter, and now there's a deal coming
Mhm.
my way. Let me go invest in that. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the best deal. It just means maybe you haven't been looking at problems long enough. Maybe there are four or five
Yeah.
other deals right behind it that are actually significantly better. You won't know until you've looked at a few and start comparing them to each other and start, especially the operator. I know the one of my lenders is Renovo, and they're known for being a
Mhm.
relationship lender. And they say
Yeah.
this, like a lot of lenders, they're maybe 50-50 part person and deal. He said Renovo, we're 70% person, 30% deal. I would say in my
Mhm.
lending business, I am 90% person, 10% deal because I know the right person will invest in a deal that makes sense. But if I get the wrong deal, that right person can still solve it. If I end up with the wrong person, I could have the greatest deal on the planet and they could mess it up.
Yeah.
So I
So
spend
true.
very little time on the deal. It's the first thing I look at after I like the person. If I look at the
So
person, their
true.
operations are solid and tight, well, then I'll go
Mhm.
look at the deal. And that's the only time I'll go look at the deal is if I think this person knows what they're doing. I can prove that with an SREO. I can prove that with past history. I can prove that with past experience. So what Vinny said out there is be cautious. Your capital is valuable. What you've
Yeah.
built up
Yeah.
is valuable, and there are going to be returns. This is the one I keep hearing, Vinny, is 25% interest. 25% interest paid over 3 months. That type of return is hard to deliver on.
Hard to
It's
deliver
like very hard to deliver on. A lot
on.
of times these guys are failing. And that's the only reason my business right now exists. My consulting practice for lenders who are not getting paid exists is because
Yeah.
those types of loans exist. Those types of
So
products out
true.
there are what's they're very predatory. You put your money in, and the operator thinks they're going to do wonderful, and the operator can't perform, and
Mhm.
now you have, you know, problems in the marketplace. Let's call it that.
Yeah.
So it
Hmm.
is Abundance Thursdays. We're thinking with the mindset of abundance. These problems are good. You didn't create them, as long as you didn't create them. These are good problems.
Yep.
They're opportunities for us
Yep.
as passive investors, us as operators, us as lenders or borrowers. Great opportunities in the marketplace. Vinny, you got a training coming up. When is your next training? What is it on?
Actually, we are going to postpone to January because we were just going to do it this month in December with holiday season, everybody busy and everything. Tickets were not selling, so I made a decision yesterday, told Asma to move everything to January, So that'll be the January. I will be doing two big, webinars, and that'll be good. Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. So if you want to see Vinny's webinars, you go to Eventbrite and
Yep.
type in vinnychopra.com. Go see what the schedule looks like, or you can go to vinnychopra.com/events and you can
Events.
go
Yeah.
to the Eventbrite that way and see what events Vinny is teaching. He does two
Sure.
per month. December are canceled for Christmas, for New
Yes.
Year's, for Hanukkah, for all the great celebrations, and
Yes,
Kwanzaa.
yes,
And then in January 2026, Vinny will be picking back up. This
yes.
is Abundance Thursdays with myself, Walter Amarelo, and the great
Thank
Vinny
you.
Smile Chopra.
Thank
Cheers to
you,
success.
Gualter. Thank you, brother. You are amazing. And let's all have a great, great rest of the week. And then let's meet again next Thursday morning for Abundance Mindset Show, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 Eastern.
We'll
Thank
see
you
you
so
next
much.
Thursday.